Grand Rising. You know, this morning I thought about those times when we have to close an old chapter in order to make space for the new. It's quite remarkable how hard that sometimes is, right? Because these structures, these systems that we put in place in the past, they try to keep us in there. Our ego tries to keep us in there. And I'm going through that phase personally at this moment, since I'm literally closing old chapters. And again, it's like so difficult at times because it costs money once again, and then you have to invest in something that is dying, right? Which is a tough spot to be in, because it's kind of dead. But in order to properly make space for the new, you have to invest time and resources for it to be fully closed, right? That chapter, or for it to be fully dissolved and reintegrated in whatever else is is coming up at that time. And that reintegration part, I think, is important, because sometimes people just detach, let's say, right? But they don't fully integrate that detachment, which I think is quite crucial. Because just because you ignore something or you leave it behind, it doesn't mean that it's actually left behind, or it's actually closed, or it's actually done. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's good to simply ignore stuff, right? Like with shitty relationships, or people that do not serve you anymore, in a sense that they're just not supposed to be around you anymore because they support your old habits, for example, right? Sometimes it's just better to leave that behind and let it go. And if it's a meaningful relationship, like a girlfriend or the likes, then sure there has to be some conversation around it. But I think you get what I'm saying. But yeah, those are just these thoughts these days that go through my mind, because I'm investing quite a lot into making space for the new, and really focusing on that, and really focusing on cutting off all the old shit and the old baggage and the old stuff that's been carrying around. It's like that it's even if it's a company that you've been holding on to because it just makes sense in some way, right? But it doesn't really feel right anymore, and there's some benefits if you keep it open and all that shit. Just fucking cut it off. Start something new. It will help you energetically, and it will help everything that you do from now on to thrive and to grow into something amazing, right? If you have these old cords attached to yourself and to your heart, then your soul cannot fully blossom. I do these videos quite impromptu, I don't even think about it before I press record, and I just kind of see what comes up. First and foremost, I do this to document my journey and as I always like to state, if it helps somebody along the process or along the way, along their process, then that's already a win-win, and I'm very happy about that. So I just cut off the old, make space for the new, and you really see that life can change a lot in a very short amount of time. You know, for me, I had to change everything. Like, it wasn't just one or two things, you know, to get out of these addictive tendencies, for example, or to get out of these environments that didn't serve me anymore. You know, if you like to indulge in drinks every night, it's probably not the best that you're in a line of work where there's events all the time, you know, just simple as. And then you have to make that decision. What's more important? Is it the short-term monetary gain, or is it your long-term health and your long-term wealth and your long-term relationships, and especially the relationship with your family and your spouse and your wife? And I would always choose the long-term outlook, you know. Monetary things aren't that important in the end. You can always, you know, make money. You can always find money. You can always find funding. You can always, you know, get back on track with that. But if you fuck up your health, if you fuck up your relationships, if your relationship with your wife sucks, man, that's stuff that's sometimes irreparable, if that is even a word. But like, if it, you know, if you cannot fix it anymore, then it's unfixable. And that's the sad part about it, you know, because I see a lot of people out there, they jeopardize exactly these relationships, and especially the relationships with their wives and children. And man, that's such, you know, short-term thinking. It's really fucking stupid if you think that way, you know, because in the end, that's the most important thing that you know you can build on. It's that lifestyle that you build with your family. It's that love. You know, I always like to say that the house full of love, right? That you have to invest and build. Invest in and build. Because if you don't invest into the love of your house, it won't grow by itself. You know, you have to invest in relationships and actively invest and converse and communicate and find time and make space and you know, first and foremost, work on yourself in order for you to be the best father and the best husband that you can be. Because if you don't work on yourself, eventually it will all crumble, you know? It's just the way it is. It will all crumble, and I can guarantee you that it will crumble. You know, just because people keep on living in the same house for 25 years, it doesn't mean that it's a good relationship and that they're having fun and that they're enjoying life, you know? It's like, I see that so much that people are just, you know, like living next to each other, basically, you know, they're just fucking and they're living next to each other and they're spending money, they're going on holidays with friends and drinking and escaping and all that shit, you know, but those are not meaningful relationships. And the worst is that your children will feel and see that, and they will grow up thinking that this is the status quo, that this is the way to live life, that this is the way to go. And you don't want that, you know. You don't want your children to grow up and see that. You want them to thrive in life and to have trust and to be able to surrender to life and to the universe, and to not have all this baggage that you carried around with yourself to be passed on to them. Because I think that's, you know, that's one of these no-goes, right? It's all good, you know, that shit that you got from your parents, that, you know, it's not just shit. Like, oftentimes it's a gift, and you're here to work for that. You know, that's your little game of adulthood, to work through that and to find meaning in that and to make it better and to, you know, change it into a role model for your kids. And there's no place for, you know, being pissed off with your parents or making it their fault, because it's not their fault, you know. Oftentimes it's not. I'm not saying, you know, there's some extreme situations where one could argue that it is, but I'm saying we all give that stuff and pass it on and give it forward, right? And we're all, like, not saints in a way, you know. Like, I'm not a saint, I'm not excellent at this stuff, you know. I make mistakes all the time, but you learn as you go, you know, and then you try to improve, and that's what's very important, right? Like, don't make the same mistakes all the time, and try to, you know, try to improve, you know, day to day. You know, when you go nuts about something stupid with your kids and you feel like you were overreacting, find out why that is, you know. Find out what that trigger was. Find out why you were in that situation that day. You know, that's one of the reasons why I said, okay, I'm done with substances and alcohol, especially with alcohol, because that was the hardest one for me to get rid of. It was that I wasn't myself, you know, that I was like way too snappy, you know, way too stressed. I woke up, let's say when you're hungover, you wake up stressed, you know, you don't have the capacity to hold children, and they're screaming and them asking you, you know, a million questions a day and all that stuff. It's just not possible. It's impossible. So that was the catalyst, and I said, okay, fuck this, you know, this doesn't serve me anymore. There's no need for this in my life. And what is important for me, you know, one of my absolute, you know, main pillars is family. And so I said, okay, I will optimize everything in order for it to make this work, to make this family a thriving and loving and healthy family. And then, you know, you just rearrange everything that, you know, goes below that. And it's not that difficult in the end, right? Like, it's you just have to put your priorities, you know, first, and then everything else will follow. But if you cannot take a loss, and if you cannot close companies and you know, take a monetary loss for a while and you know, basically work through that, you know, because your ego thinks you need the new Ferrari next month and all that shit, you know, and it won't work, of course, right? But then you don't have your priorities straight. Then you're just bullshitting yourself, you know, which I see a lot as well. Because in the end, everyone has to know for themselves what's important to them and what they, you know, what they want their future to look like. And I don't know if it's that cool to, you know, be alone and have cool cars and money, and then you have to buy the love and all that interesting stuff, you know. So, you know, I'm done with my little drive this morning. I'm having a PT session. I'm back in the weights mode a bit. You know, I feel like once or twice a week it feels good to lift some heavy shit, or at least to lift some shit. You know, I have to really watch out with my injuries, but you know, that's the reason why I go there, to mitigate exposure to more injury. And then, you know, I want to get back into my Muay Thai mode, train regularly again. And so that's the goal, you know, just to get the body and the mind straight. And yeah, let me know in the comments if this format is helping in a way, you know, if you can learn something from this, if it gives you value. If not, you know, let me know as well. If you'd like to share this with a friend that then do that, please. That would help the channel a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.